In this video we're going to take a look at color temperature and initial intensity, or the brightness of a light fixture. So we'll go back over into this hallway looking at the hot spot on the wall. I'm going to sort of slide Enscape off the screen here just so we can see this recessed can light and the hot spot it's creating. And then back in Revit, if I select that light source and go to edit type, there's two settings we want to sort of focus on. One is the initial color, so the color temperature of the light fixture, and then the initial intensity, how bright it is. So for initial color, we click on this, and I find that most families don't have this set correctly. This setting isn't required to do accurate lighting calculations in something like Loom tools, for example. This doesn't affect the brightness of the light, but it definitely affects how it looks. So instead of having something that's 2800K, we typically want something closer to daylight, which is 6400K roughly. Hit OK, and then watch the color of this light. It'll get whiter once we hit OK. So you can see the color changed for this light fixture. There's also the ability to have custom lights. You could certainly have filters or gel packs that change the color of the light, and Enscape supports that. Now if we want to change the brightness of this light fixture, I already mentioned one way to do that in the Enscape settings. On the atmosphere tab, there is an overall global brightness effect that we can adjust. The artificial lights are always on in Enscape, but the automatic exposure can sort of wash that out at times. But because we have a light fixture closer to a wall here, we see that it certainly is on. So we typically don't want to mess with auto exposure because that helps in toilet rooms and ceiling plenum spaces where there are no lights or windows to light the space. And in this case, we just want to affect these lights in the hallway, not necessarily all the lights in the building. So we're going to go to Revit, select the light fixture, go to edit type, and then we're going to adjust the initial intensity. We can actually adjust any one of these settings. They're just different ways of entering the information about the light intensity. So if we know the luminous flux value, or we know the luminous intensity, or we can adjust the wattage, any one of these will adjust the setting. So right now it's 1300 for luminous flux. If we change that just to a much smaller number, let's try 200. So we'd go from 1300 to 200 just so we can see a change. And you can see the hot spot practically went away. If we go back in to the settings for this particular light fixture type, so it was 2000. I like to just make really drastic changes just to make sure things are changing properly. If you're just trying to make it a little brighter and you adjust the setting just a little bit, it might not be super obvious if it actually changed or not. So here it's super bright now. So we can see that adjusting these settings are in fact adjusting the intensity of the light source. And of course this is changing the value for this family type. We might need to duplicate this type and only use these in the corridor. There may be other places in the building where it should be brighter. So the color intensity and the light output for the fixture is really important if you want to sell the realism of your design within Enscape. So you can see in this workroom, those same can lights show up. So if they need to be brighter in this workroom, we'd need to duplicate the type. And another great example of visually finding problems in Enscape is we see our cabinets have been shifted up somehow in this view. So whenever I see something like that, I can quickly fix it. And that's it for this particular video.